Well, hey there, everybody. How you doing? Dave Fennoy here. Another Wednesday, another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything, and just want to welcome you in and say hello. Want to remind you that all the Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings live on my YouTube channel after the fact, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. And if you are someone who is interested in doing some work with me, getting some coaching, love to work with you. Just go to davefennoy.com, click on the Study VO tab at the top. And by the way, this QR code, if you want me in your digital Rolodex, all you got to do is, point your phone at that QR code. I'll give you a little minute to do that, and you can get all my stuff in there and be in contact. But let's talk to and about my guest. She is what I would call, well, let's see. I wrote down a few things. She wears a lot of hats, or she checks off a lot of boxes, or jack of all trades. I think my favorite is Renaissance Woman. And so let's bring on the Renaissance Woman herself, Miss Venus Crute.
Crute. Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great. Great to see you there in New Jersey.
New Jersey, thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored, for
You know,
real.
it was good to
Oh,
see you at VO Atlanta. Didn't get to spend a lot of time. It was an amazing experience, this VO Atlanta.
absolutely
Each
amazing.
each year it has gotten better, and then just jumped the shark and got even better this year. One of the things I was happy about was the attendance, and especially the attendance of
Oh,
us.
the chain, yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Did
it
you see all of
was
us?
it was amazingly diverse.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, and
Ab-
sometimes when people think, "Oh, there's a lot of black people," does that mean they're going to all hang together and they're not going to hang with us? Everybody was hanging with everybody.
with everybody,
It
with
it
everybody.
it it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. But
Absolutely was.
let's talk about you. Do you have like 35 hours in your day?
No, I have the same amount of hours you have, and I probably sleep more than you do.
Oh boy, well I don't know because you do so many things. Let's see. You are you've been a DJ at Kiss
Yeah,
FM.
yeah.
I'm sure some other stations too. Yeah.
They call us radio personalities.
You know what? And I should know better because I was a radio personality for
See
years,
there?
and when I was,
Mhm.
I was a stickler about having people call me a radio personality, and
'Cause
and
I can't spin or scratch anything. Can't do no zigga zigga, I can't do any of that.
you know what? I couldn't either, and I was in radio in the '80s, and mixing was a big thing, but I was more the personality. I did mornings at KSOL, and it was jokes and music and news
Mhm,
and
mhm.
information and fun.
And
Uh,
prizes.
but I would go out with a mixer and scratcher.
Yes.
Michael Erickson, who has left the planet now,
Oh,
great guy and white guy that was
mhm.
totally into black culture.
Okay,
He
love it.
wasn't trying to be anything but himself, and that's who he
Mhm,
was.
mhm, and
And
works
we'd have a
well, right?
great time going out and mixing. But you are also a singer.
Yeah, right now I'm just singing at church, but I'm itching to get back out there because when I'm singing, when I'm in that element, because that was the original element I wanted. When I graduated from school or when I was in school, all I wanted to do was act, model, and sing. I don't want to study anything else because all I wanted to do was act, model, and sing. I was singing or holding things as a mic from two, just singing everything, hair bottle, brush, anything. That was my mic because I just
Well,
love to sing. There, I'm really in my element. Love it.
okay,
So
well,
I'll,
we will go back there. We go.
mhm.
Um, so now you're not in radio anymore, but was radio your entree into voiceover?
No, voiceover was my entree into radio. So, but when I went to radio, I was a trained voice actor. And so when they got spots from me, they said, "Oh, it sounds like you got it. We got it from the agency, professional." And I'm so because I am a professional. So I came to radio thinking that I could get more higher paying jobs. Not,
Huh. It,
not, not.
Because this really is, I won't
Yeah,
say,
it's
I'm going
reverse.
to say backwards, but I don't mean
Mhm.
backwards like you did it wrong. But
Yeah,
typically people are in radio and they discover voiceover. That
right,
was me. I was in radio, discovered voiceover, and
right.
first started adding voiceover and then made the switch.
Mhm, mhm.
But you were doing so. What kinds of things were you doing in voiceover early on?
Okay, let me tell you a quick story about how I got into voiceover. So I used to program telephone systems. I was in telecommunications, so I programmed telephone systems, voiceover systems, IVR. I programmed all of that, and they used to hire a guy to come in. I was working for Macy's, Harold Square in New York, which is the largest Macy's on 34th Street in New York. If you're a New Yorker, you know about that, and if you visit New York, you know about that.
Oh
They
yeah.
had a guy who came in who would read the parade route, and I had to pay him and sign his check. And when I saw him reading you step down the street and here comes Disney, here comes the Disney character. Blah, blah. I said, well, I could do that. He says, well, you can. I said, okay. And so after that, I started looking around for trainings. I took a class at something called the Annex, where they just give you an overview of what voiceover is. And
and
that
and
led me
what
on.
years are we talking about here?
Oh, wow. We're talking a long time, Dave. That tells you how old I am. Way back in like 1988 or so,
Well,
back there.
you don't complain about your age. You see this gray hair,
I cover mine all up. It looks good on you. It looks old on me.
right? So,
So yeah, back then. And so after I got my training and things, then I started to do telephony. And I would go to different companies because Macy's they outsource. So I went to different companies, still programming phones and putting up their voiceover systems. And I would do all their voiceover. Every
oh,
company I went, I would do their voiceover. And then I was working for I think PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I was still programming phone systems. And they said, "Well, we can't get that voiceover person. We want you to do it." I said, "Nope." By that time, I was doing it part time because I had gone to all the pay to plays. I was on all the pay to plays back then, and I was getting jobs and had my own clients back there. So I was like, no, this is a separate job. I get paid to do that. So if you want me to do that, I need two checks. I need a check to program your phone system, and I need a check to do your voiceover. So that's actually really how that bug bit me.
hmm
Yeah.
So you were doing voiceover, and you were doing, um, I break voiceover into high profile and low profile, and
Mhm,
not that
mhm.
one is better than the other, but if you're on television, on radio, if you're seeing or hearing you on radio, on television, um, that's more high profile. If you're doing, well, they didn't have video games like that back then, but if you're
Mhm.
doing the animation, those are more the high profile stuff that,
Right.
but there's always been a somewhat under market, low profile. Well, not the world doesn't know who you are, maybe,
Mhm. Mhm.
uh, but the money spins just as well. And of course, that part of voiceover is probably the part that has blown up the most over the
Mhm.
last number of years. So you were an early adopter.
And early adopter, and that is more consistent. I don't have a lot of that now. I get some of that every now and then, but that's consistent, kinda like audiobooks is consistent, right?
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
I haven't
Oh,
gotten there yet. Yeah, I think the
and,
first entree there will be my book.
it sounds very much like you are one of the pioneers of self marketing, self promotion,
I think
which is so
man,
much the
all
way
of
it is to have a career.
you have to if you're doing things, if I'll say if you get shut out of something and nobody's promoting you and you don't have a team and you don't have family that will promote you or help you. My son is probably listening. He'll probably get mad at me. I always say, listen, I need you to come and do this. And he says, well, can't I just be a spectator? I'm like, no, you the team. You can't. You
What
can't
does
just
your
be
son do for a living?
my son is a project manager for an insurance company. So, he's always telling me about how it's good to have insurance. And I'm like, no, they just take your money. But you can't. No,
Until you need
we
it.
yeah, we don't see eye to eye on that, but he's wonderful. I love him
Besides,
beyond
you need him to be working for you.
exactly, exactly. But he will not, I mean, when I'm selling the books or whatever, he's there at the table and this, that, and the other. But I want him to do more things behind the scenes. He says, "Ma, if I'm singing, he wants to be in the crowd watching." I'm like, "Baby, Mama needs some help. So,
Well, let's talk about that because Miss
uh-huh.
Renaissance woman, you're a singer too.
I'm a
So
singer
tell me
too.
about your singing career.
My singing career, like I said before, all I wanted to do was act and sing. So I would sing at church. I've been singing at church since forever. I sing at local community things. I created my own jazz concerts because my genre is jazz. I like Billie Holiday, going
Oh
back
yeah,
there.
oh yeah,
I like Nancy Wilson.
oh yeah,
I like Jill Scott.
yeah, oh
I
yeah,
like Nina Freelon.
yeah,
So when I sing those type of songs. I might mix a little bit of blues and a little bit of R&B in there, but I'm not really an R&B singer. I love R&B, but I'm
yeah.
not an R&B singer. I went to an audition one time with a friend of mine, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, and the director wanted me to sing Shame, Evelyn Champagne King.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, I don't sing that." And so he kept trying to get me to sing. And I said, "Well, can I sing this?" I said, "I'm a jazz singer." He says, "You jazz singers are lazy." I was like, "Okay, I'll be lazy." Nancy Wilson, she makes a good money being lazy. Okay. So we leave there. I don't sing it. He says, "Well, I need you to be more upbeat, this, that, and the other. You too laid back. Okay, I can't use you. Fine." We get in the car going home, and I'm with my girlfriend. She was like my producer at the time. And I start singing Shame. She said, "If you don't shut up, shut up. I don't want to hear it. You couldn't sing it then. Why are you singing it now?" But the feeling changed, and I was able to put a spin on it then that felt better to me
Yeah.
than what he wanted me to do. But that's the funniest thing. So no, I'm a lazy jazz singer. Okay, I'm not singing.
So the band that you were with, that you were singing with,
Uh
were they
huh.
going to be able to hit that shame for you?
I wouldn't sing it then. That's not one of the things I had in my repertoire to sing.
Wow.
Those guys were great. I would have different guys. I called them my gentleman friends because they were all friends of mine.
Hmm.
But, some of them were definitely out there working with Alicia Keys and, Jill Scott. So musicians, if you pay them and you're serious about your work, they will work with you. And of
I
course,
was a musician for a long time. We have a lot of things in common.
mhm,
Before I got into radio, that's what I did for a living.
right.
I went to Howard University in the music, the jazz program, and
I'm
although
gonna make you mine.
I'm not playing anymore, I've got so many friends
Oh, come
from
on.
back in the day, and they're playing with everybody now.
Mhm.
So I get to go to some concerts and hang around some very cool people. I did miss Shaka Khan's 70th birthday party because I was in Atlanta with you and the voiceover crew.
Oh, wow.
And my buddy called me, "Hey, man, Shaka's having her 70th birthday party. You want to go?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm in
I'm
Atlanta.
in Atlanta.
Can't make it." So
Terrible.
I let my wife know, and she went.
Okay, did she
So,
have a good time?
oh, she had a ball.
Did she
She had
tell
a
her to tell
ball.
Shaka you need to come back later at another date? Yeah.
Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's. I mean, we're bouncing around doing some things.
Mhm,
What would your advice be for people knocking on the doors of voiceover right now? And even though I asked that question, I'm going to just say something else. One,
mhm,
I noticed at VO Atlanta that you were taking workshops,
mhm.
that you were going. So you are doing your continuing education.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to pat you on the back for that.
Mhm.
What
Praise God.
would you tell somebody that wants to get into this business now?
The first thing I would say is it's not about you having a good voice. Everybody's got a good voice. Some people got, squeaky voices or whatever. The voice is not what's important. What's important is your training. What's important is acting. What's important is learning how to take directions and constantly improving your craft. You have to continue learning. You have to continue learning,
So,
you know.
what were some of the workshops that you took? What were some of the presentations you went to?
I actually am concentrating on promos now.
Ah,
So I took another promo class with
Joseph.
no, not Joseph. What's my guy? Jeff Howell
Oh, Jeff Howell. Great.
and the CNN casting director
Excellent.
because I've been getting some things from there and I'm trying to get in there. So I took that. And then I took Malik's class
Ah,
on the art of the pivot because I get a lot of video games and, cartoons. And like I told you earlier off camera, I didn't watch many cartoons because they came on too early and I was asleep. So my mother would say to me, "You gonna watch the cartoons?" She gets up early, she's like, "You gonna watch the cartoons?" I said, "If they're on when I wake up," and I wouldn't wake up until 12, and there's one cartoon on at 12, so I only saw what was on from 12 to 12:30, so I didn't watch a lot of cartoons,
Oh, by the
so
way, you mentioned Malik Berger and her
mhm.
class, The Art of the Pivot. I want to talk about that a little bit. She and I are on a number of projects together, and we've
Mhm.
played husband and wife. So,
Did you get something there? Oh, that would probably be cool.
but she's just a great talent. And so,
She
what was The Art of the Pivot? What was that?
Mhm.
What did she mean when she said that?
What the art of the pivot to me, what she meant was she picked copy that really fits you and your personality, but would have to take you further. And for me, I was a fish out of water because I'm not doing any video games or cartoons. So I was a fish out of water, and you just have to relax and let go. And she said that anything that you learn, like you said before we came on, anything that you learn in video games or any kind of animation will help you everywhere else
Yeah,
in all the other genres. And so that's the reason why I took it, because she billed it as you'll be good with commercial and you'll learn how to have that natural, not announcery voice. You know that one that you talk about all
yeah,
the time?
yeah,
You won't have that announcery voice. And then you'll also learn what to do and how to bring out the characters in you in animation. Because I remember when I first met Portia, it was at AVO Atlanta, I think in the fifth year.
yeah.
And I
Portia, of
wanted to be
course,
Portia.
is an agent, also a good friend of mine, and we've had
Mhm.
her on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So I wanted to meet her because I had just discovered her. And I remember saying, I didn't get a chance to meet her. And I said on Facebook, "Oh, I'm sorry I didn't meet you." Well, let me tell you, poor Portia, don't get mad at me. I don't know if she knows this story, but So it was the last day, and I was in the area where you have lunch or whatnot. And we were just talking to people, saying goodbye. It was great, blah, blah, blah. And Portia walks up to me and she says, "Go." So my mind went like this, right into what she meant. Now, I had never met Portia, and somebody else may not have known what she meant by go, but that said to me, lights, camera, action. You know what I'm saying? So then I just gave her, I guess, a little elevator pitch, and told her what I wanted to do and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, I want to do animation, but I want to use my own voice. When somebody told me when I first got started in voiceover, they said, use your own voice, don't be a character. And I liked that. So I said, okay. I said, well, Will Smith uses his own voice, and Robin Williams uses his own voice. Whoopi Goldberg uses her own voice. I want to use my own voice. So she said, well, you can if that's what the client asks for. But if not, you need to be whatever. So I said, okay. So that was my meeting of Portia Scott. So always be prepared, because you don't know who you're going to meet and what they're going to say. And you don't need to go like, what's his name? Hamana, Hamana, Hamana. Ralph Cramden. You don't want to go Hamana, 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 Hamana. Or what you mean? That may
Yeah,
mean you don't need to
yeah.
be there. You
Well,
know?
when we look at animation, especially the animation we're seeing in movies now, where
Mm-hmm.
it used to break my heart that those of us who do animation and video games weren't getting the work of the major characters, and they were going to A-list actors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it took me a while because they still cast me in those. I'm in a bunch of them, but it's
Mm-hmm.
smaller roles.
Right.
But the reason why is a couple. Well, one, name brand artists. It's going to bring more people, put
Right.
more seats,
Right.
butts in the seats.
Mhm.
But also because you're talking about people who their personage is funny, is
Mhm.
elevated, is animated, and they
Right.
can bring that just who they are to the
To that
characters they're
character.
playing.
Mhm. Right.
And when you think about it, that's what an actor does.
Right. Right.
We see our favorite actors. They may play a wide variety of roles, but they
Mhm.
always seem to be playing themselves in some way.
So, yeah. Yeah. I
Uh,
still wanna play myself, but, I wanna be a I don't know if I'm gonna say this right, but I wanna be a bad you know what. I don't use all those words, but I wanna be a bad so and so,
okay.
I'll
Oh,
use the word vixen. I wanna be a bad vixen in something. I told Trey Mosley if he was putting together something, I needed to be the vixen.
oh, there you go. Yeah, he says he has a part for me for his cartoon that he's putting together.
Tell him I
Uh,
need to be your wife.
I I um I want to backtrack on something here that we were talking about. Janet Peters. Just yeah, you named all the genres of music I love. Many years ago, I sang in nightclubs in Chicago.
Mhm.
How I loved the jazz. Thrilled I was able to tune in tonight. Oh, oh, hi. Save. LOL.
Okay. Thank you, Jay.
And I'm popping this one up, but you've already answered it. Hi, Venus. What's your best advice for a new podcast? Well, you didn't say new podcaster, but
Mhm.
let's look at that because you have a podcast,
Mhm.
uh, the
So
R&B
this is
Bistro, up close and personal with Venus Crute.
okay.
So tell me about that. How did that get started?
So, so this is how that started. So I was on Kiss FM, and Kiss FM went away. When Kiss FM went away, I still wanted to be in radio, so I found a way to get on a brokered radio station. And I wanted to play songs that they don't play because there are a lot of songs, let's say the B side, that the radio doesn't play. The radio has to play whatever they tell you they have to play, and I don't like
Yeah.
that. So I want, and if you, so funny, if you wanted to, I better not do this. I'm going to do it. Sometimes when you ask for a request, if your request is not on their list that they
No.
want you, you can't do it. And so I pulled something one time and got in trouble. And the program director said, "Well, Venus, that's not on the list. You got to pull something for the list." I said, "That's not what they asked for." so, but anyway, so when Kiss went away, I was on a brokered radio station, my own show that I put together and developed, and I was music director, program director. I did all the advertising. I put together all the commercials, everything, salesperson, everything. And I called it the R&B Bistro, just the R&B Bistro, because I like gospel, jazz, and R&B, and I wanted to be able to play that. So I would play gospel to start, because that's my premise. Then I would have R&B, and then I would close out with a jazz song, and I would talk over that to end the show. And I would have artists come on, and I would talk to them for, almost the 30 minutes of the show. And we'd go through their CD. I would pick out, the songs I thought were hot on their CD, and we'd play almost the whole CD while we chatted, which is what doesn't really happen, or it might happen a little bit now, but it wasn't happening back then.
Yeah.
But that was a brokered radio station, and I had to pay for that airtime. And I had sponsors that would pay for the commercials. So I would create the commercials, write them. I would get food because when I have things, I have food for you there, just like your Channel 7 or ABC or NBC. We have food in the green room. So I would,
Because we celebrities are spoiled.
yes, y'all are. So I would barter with people that owned the restaurant so I could get the food, and I would create commercials for them so they could pay for that.
Which
But
is
what was
very much what a lot of radio stations do.
Okay. But what was happening was the equipment was an AM station, and the equipment was old, and they were always messing up, and I had come from Kiss FM, and I had a reputation, and I was paying for it. So I said, "I'm not doing this no more." So I left there after about 8 months, but I always wanted a TV show. And so I went to a networking event, and they were talking about how you can get on this local cable station. So I said, "Oh, really?" And I went and found out about that, and I went and talked to the station. And so the R&B Bistro Up Close and Personal was born as the TV show. So I'm feeling all good. I got a TV show. I produce, I direct. The director calls me Little Oprah. I'm like, "That's fine, because that's where I'm going. So you could call me that." Because I things have to be tight and right for me. You can't come here and not be ready. People come and they go, "Oh, well, I didn't know I was supposed to dress up." I said, "Well, how do you want yourself to be presented? This is going to go and tape forever. How do you want to be represented?" So I'm gonna be dressed when I get there. You could wear whatever you want to wear because I don't tell people what to wear because it's like we're sitting at a kitchen table or a living room and we're just having a relaxed conversation. But I'm pulling information out of you because it's a give back show so that people can, if they want to be Dave Fennoy is gonna come on, which Dave Fennoy is gonna come on, right, Dave Fennoy? Dave Fennoy is gonna come on and he's gonna tell you my questions are gonna be geared to how do you be a person who does video games? How do you get an animation? And we'll have a little fun too. So that's what it's about. Anybody that wants to be in the arts in any kind of way, before the camera, behind the camera. And then I do things called Stop the Music if I want to talk about something serious, not politics, not religion, but if I want to talk about dementia, which is something I talk about on one of the shows called Stop the Music, and depression because people need to know about that, or Alzheimer's, I bring people on, specialists, so that we can talk about that. I have a financial guy that comes on now, and he's going to help us get our finances together. I'm going to have a real estate person come on, and they're going to get the real estate together. So that,
You
everything
are
has
just
to be big.
broadening the horizons of what you're talking about and
Right.
opening this
So,
up to a much larger
right,
audience.
right. So the R&B doesn't really stand for rhythm and blues. It stands for real business. So when
Okay.
you come on there, you're going to get information for you to go out and be who it is you want to be. I want to help you live your dreams. That's what the show is about. Giving you information so you can live your dreams. Because when I started in radio, they weren't really trying to help you. Long ago, people weren't really trying to help you. So I want to say that I'm the pioneer who really let you know back then that I want to help you. Now it seems like everybody's trying to do it because it's the thing to do now.
Yeah.
But when I started, it wasn't the thing to do. So I'm
Well,
just capitalizing.
in so many ways, Venus, you've been ahead of your time because you have been creating your own opportunities.
Right,
You're not somebody that I wrote a few letters, made a few phone calls, and
right,
waited for
right.
responses. Oh,
Hmm.
not hiring me? I'll figure out something
Yeah.
myself.
You're not
Uh,
giving me a seat at the table. I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up the table. I'm gonna make my own table.
Now,
But let me go
and we're
back.
living in a do-it-yourself world now.
Yeah, yeah. But let me go back because you asked me about the podcast. And every time I would tell people about it, they say, "Well, do you have a podcast?" I said, "It's a TV show." People are filming podcasts to me because they want it to be a TV show. So it's a TV show. But since you want it to be a podcast, I now have it on a podcast platform, but I say I do it differently from others because I don't go and shoot a podcast. I probably will sooner or later. I take the audio from the actual TV show and put it up on a podcast network.
I, a lot of podcasts are doing that. That
But I
actually, I
said,
think,
okay, good.
is the way it's working now, where you can see it, but you can
Mhm,
also hear it. And uh, I don't know about you, but
mhm.
it's kind of like when texting came out, and I thought, who's going to want? Why don't you just make a phone call? A lot easier to make a phone
Yeah,
call than have to do all this typing.
yeah, yeah.
But texts have taken over the world, and my first reaction to podcasts was, why would I want to do this? Who's going to watch this? It's not on television. It's
Mhm.
well, the world has changed.
Yeah, and they wanna do it while they're driving or while they're on the treadmill, this, that, and the other. You wanna listen. I actually listened to one of our girls, Carmen Wilson, was on someone's podcast, and when I did my hour walk yesterday that I talked about on Facebook Live, I was listening to Carmen's interview. Awesome, awesome interview. Check it out if you get a chance. Yeah.
And we're
Mhm,
such a diverse group of people living in this country now. And
mhm,
I, back in the day when we were watching three, then four, we got a lot of channels now.
mhm, mhm.
Uh, but it was very homogeneous, and
Right,
and we didn't see a lot of ourselves.
right.
Uh, but there are audiences demanding that they be heard and that they have something that relates to them that they are watching. And that's just
Right.
not about, color or ethnicity or anything. It's sometimes just about what I'm interested in.
Exactly.
So you can find podcasts on anything. My doing this.
Mhm.
I'm interested in voiceover. I'm interested in voiceover training. So here we are. Here we are. Well, let's talk about let's talk shop here a little bit. Tell me about your
Okay.
studio.
My studio. Actually, I'm not in a house anymore, so I'm in an apartment. I have a room that's treated. And so I talk to, people
How
like,
did you treat your room?
"Oh, you wanna get real technical? I got that stuff of the foam and all those things." No, I'm not very technical, Dave. So I bought, this blanket, this, soundproof blanket
Hmm.
from one of my VO Atlanta, trips,
Hmm.
and then I looked up different foams that you're supposed to put up all around and where you're supposed to look at them. I watched different people's, not really podcasts, but I'll say YouTube,
Hmm.
to see where you should put, names escape me except for Uncle Roy. He's my go-to engineer. But there are a few others that I would listen to, and I bought a book, James Alberger,
Hmm.
years ago, and he was at the last One Voice, and he was also at this year's VO
Yeah, he
Atlanta.
was at this year's VO
VO
Atlanta.
Atlanta. And he wrote a book back then about how to put together a studio. So I have a treated room. I have soundproof curtain that makes me look like I'm in a box. So everything in front of me is all treated. The ceiling is treated. Behind me, you can see some of it is treated, and the foams are in key areas. Of course, it had to be tested because when I talk to people, my bookings over Source Connect, it has to sound like I'm in a real enclosed-in studio.
And who
So,
did you have do the tests for you?
um, Uncle Roy, what's the other? I'm not really good with names unless
George
I use a
Whittle.
George Whittam, yes.
Yeah.
So I
But we
or
don't
I
want to forget Tim Tippett. We don't,
yeah,
and there's a
absolutely.
not Jordan Reynolds. There's
There's
several
a
other.
crew.
Uh,
Absolutely. And, the client. they will send you something that send me something taped from your studio. Let me hear it. So yeah. But I've been
And
approved.
I'm glad you bring that up because that's one of the reasons I ask people about their studios.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't have to do it all on your own.
Right.
Um, there is a pathway that you can find, and there are great people to give you great advice. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
best things you can do is once you have everything put up and together, uh, do a room test.
Yes.
Record some things and send those files. They can tell you this is working, this is not. You probably need to do this, that, and the other. I personally
Exactly.
don't have the ears for that,
Me either.
uh, and most of us don't.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing we want to be able to do is have a great sounding studio, and it's not that hard to do it. Thankfully, the prices have come down. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of microphone you use?
I have two mics. I have a Synco D2
Mm-hmm.
and I have a Rode NI1, I think it's called. I'm bad with names.
NT1.
NT1, that's it.
And I
And
love the way that you didn't know exactly what it was as a road.
Mhm.
What is that? Because somebody told you this is a great mic to get, and they told you a great mic to get.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My goal is a Neumann. I think it's a 718 or a 711.
Don't
I
know
saw it at
that
One Voice.
particular one. U87.
No, it's not a U87. It
Okay,
has three numbers. Do I have my paper over here?
that's a
Oh,
Neumann.
look. It's a TML 711. I don't want the 701. Is it 711? It
Oh,
might be the 7. Yeah. It's either the 7107, TLNM 107, or I thought they showed us something that was
I'm
711.
gonna have to look that mic up. That's not one that I'm
Yes,
familiar with.
and you won't need to change, you won't need a shotgun. I want that.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Well, that the
So,
Sennheiser 416. That
mhm.
the Senko is a shotgun.
Yes,
And so
if
and
you
it's pretty
can't
good.
afford that, use that, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there
Mhm.
you go. There you go. Well, let's
Yeah.
see. You're also a wait a minute. Let me get a question in here from somebody.
Mhm.
Venus, when you moved into the new area of the industry, what do you do to prepare yourself?
Train, train, train.
Makes perfect sense to me. And by the
And
way,
let me add, pay attention to the people who are good,
yes. Yeah.
like Dave
Uh,
Fennoy.
oh, well, thank you. Very kind. The
Mhm.
people you should learn from are the people who are doing it. Now,
What
when I
you wanna
say
do,
that,
right?
that doesn't mean you're going to do it exactly the way they do.
Exactly.
And the world keeps spinning, and what is in style keeps changing.
Mhm,
Um, so there's always going to be something new that's getting attention that is going to make money.
mhm,
And you may have to run as fast as you can to keep from falling too far behind, but
mhm.
you have to keep up. You have to sometimes lift your head up from looking down and working and see, well, where is the world going now?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, because
Which
that's
is
what the
why I'm
world
trying
wants.
to pay attention to video games, and especially since I keep getting auditions for them.
Ah,
It's like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, give me a call. We can work it
I
out.
absolutely am. But you know what? I have to stop here and say something that you said to me a couple of years ago. I think I've when I first met you, first of all, when I first met Black people in voiceover, I was just elated because I hadn't seen any. I trained with Rodney Salisbury for a while, and I had
Oh boy.
never met him until I saw him, and Joan Baker too. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm not trying to name drop, but these are the people that I paid attention to because I was in awe that they were in those positions. But I called you. You gave me a number and said I can call you anytime. I called you, and I think I was frazzled and upset, and because I like for things to happen like this,
Hmm.
and they don't. They don't. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And so I said to you, I was frantic. And whatever I said to you, you said, you will work. Just keep being you and keep training and do what you're doing. You will work. Because I remember I said, I got all these auditions and they're coming in, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not booking anything, blah, 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 blah. And you said you will work. So I'm getting emotional, but I want to thank you. And I hear those words when I get discouraged now. you will work. So thank you, Dave Fennoy.
Well, you're welcome. Um, you're not the only person. Um, Trey Mosley told a story at VO Atlanta. I met him at a VO Atlanta a number of years ago, and he was
Mm-hmm.
just about to quit the business, but he let me
Mm-hmm.
hear his demo, and I said, "Dude, you got this. Just keep going." Um,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you hear somebody and you just know all you have to do is keep knocking on these doors. They don't open as fast as you would like them to,
Right.
um,
Right.
but they will open. Now the thing is, once the doors are open, you're only as good as what you did
Your
last.
last. Exactly.
So you have
Exactly.
to keep showing up. You have to stay trained. You have to roll with the punches, roll with uh, the what's going on that's new, and at the same time be true to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that being true to yourself, but making sure you're fitting in with society now,
Mm-hmm.
necessary. That's the way
Yeah.
to do it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Terry Briscoe's got another question. Dave, oh, he's a comment. Dave is such a supportive figure in our community. That's one of the reasons he's a goat. Oh, Terry, that, you know. But let's not turn this into a Dave Fennoy thing. If you have some questions and comments for Venus Crute, or as I used to call her, Venus Crute, until she corrected me, uh,
She
Dave,
won't answer you if you call
it's
her that. She won't answer you.
Crute.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Accent aigu on the E.
There you go. It's French. And when we
French,
were talking beforehand, you said when you were a little girl, you didn't like your name, Venus. Why?
right? Because people called me everything but Venus. Venus flytrap, Venus where's your arms, Venus Mars, Venus with another letter in front of that, not such a nice.
Oh, yeah.
And I hated it. So it wasn't until I was 13 I learned that Venus was the goddess of love and beauty. Then I decided, like, now my father named me. This is also funny. If I was a girl, I was going to be Venus. If I was a boy, I would have been Hercules. Can you imagine if I was a puny little boy named Hercules? I had a
Hercules.
hard time being
Hey,
Venus. Hercules.
my name is Hercules.
Hercules, I could have been puny with a high pitched voice. No. So I'm glad I wasn't a boy. I'm glad I'm a girl, but it took me a while to like Venus, the name. So,
Well, there you go. There you go.
yeah.
Um, well, we've talked about a number of things. You've just done so much, and you are doing so much. You are reinventing yourself all the time and doing something new. And one of the things I found very interesting is that you are now a writer.
Yeah.
And this is your book, Shades of Love, Journey of
Yeah.
Emotions, Venus Crute.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
once again, if you got some thoughts, questions for Miss Crute, please jot them down and we'll get to them as
Mhm.
we can.
Mhm.
How did you become a writer? And a poet?
And I keep saying I'm not a poet. I just say things and they happen to rhyme, but I'm not a poet. I'm not a poet. When I was on the radio, and this is not actually the book that was supposed to come out, I would give motivational sayings at the beginning of my shows when I was on air, and at the end, I would just say a statement, and at the end, I would sum it up, and they were used to give people motivations. And I did that over a period of 10 years, and I said, okay, I'm going to put that into a book. So I was actually trying to put that into a book. And I had problems publishing it at first. And then I was working because all the while I was doing voiceover part time, and I know you want to get into the pandemic and all. When I was doing voiceover part time, I was in corporate America still, and I got a job because I needed to pay the rent at this job that was supposed to be telecommunications, but it was a human resource person because I was a human resource manager also. So it was a human resource person who answered phones for people in the human resource department. So for the managers or directors or whatever, how do I do this? How do I do that? My pension check didn't come, all of that. And I hated it because I answered the phone and I programmed these phone systems. So for me to be sitting there 8 hours answering the phone with a 15-minute break, I couldn't handle it.
Hmm.
So to keep myself occupied, I started to write. So I have another book, not the motivational book. That's finished. I have another book that's 2.5 chapters finished. It's about 5 women in the life that they led. And that's on the side. So I started writing that book while I was answering the phone in between, calls. And when I would have to answer a call, I would get upset because I'm like, I'm writing. Why they?
Why are these
That's
people
why you.
bothering me?
That's why you. Why are these people calling me? But that's why I was there to answer the phone. And then um, as I said, I tried to get the motivational book done first to publish, but it didn't happen. One night, I had this dream because I was single and I didn't want to be single anymore. And I kept having these dreams. And in the dream, I had this line come to me: I met the man of my dreams last night. I hope he can find me in the morning light. And so I said, "Ooh," because I'm thinking in my sleep too. So I don't really get rest because I'm thinking and planning in my sleep. And so I said, "Oh, I hope I remember that when I wake up. That sounds good." And when I woke up, I remembered it. So I said, "Oh, let me go to Facebook and ask people." So I asked people on Facebook, "Do you think this is a poem? Do you think it's a song? Or do you think it's a real life experience?" And the answers I got were that it was a song and it was a poem. I said, "No, it's a real life experience. But if you want it to be a poem, I'm going to write it." So I sat down that day and I wrote it, put it aside. The next day, 2 months from there, I had the exact same dream, the exact same man that made me say those words. And I got upset when I woke up because it was a dream. So then I wrote another poem based on that one. And the ending line was, "Because you're a dream that won't let me be." So when I started doing that, I said, "Oh, I should write some more of these, write about 5 or 6 and maybe 10, and I'm going to put them in a book."
Did they
So I
all
got,
come to you in your
they,
sleep?
they all didn't come in my sleep. They came from things that started to happen to me. And then I would start to write them down. So when things happen to me sometimes, the way I purge them is I talk about it. I either talk about it to a friend, I talk about it to myself, I talk about it to Jesus. He and I are friends. We walk back and forth. I'm bothering him all the time. He's probably sick of me. But I just talk it out until I call it purging, until I'm clean, and then whatever. So more poems happened because things were happening. And I just started to write them. And they were coming just like this. Or I couldn't sleep, so I would start writing. And I wrote it all on my cell phone at night
Ah,
when I couldn't sleep.
oh
And
boy.
when I
Well,
got to
listen.
20,
Can
sure.
I
Mhm.
impose upon you and ask you to share some of your writing?
Sure, sure. So I got to tell you, though, that Shades of Love, A Journey of Emotions, is about things that happen to you, the ups and downs, the goods and the bad, and everything in between. So it's separated into first love, you know, new love, looking for love. Oh God, those things hurt me. Love, I found the love.
Hmm.
So now tell me where you want me to go, and there's
Oh,
some advice in there too.
your choice.
Yeah. All right, and some are good, and some are. When I say good, I mean some have good endings and some have bad endings, but
Well,
there's less.
that's life.
Mhm.
That's life.
All right, so let me go to the one that starts off really, really sweet, and it's called A Fantasy View. I think of you often, see those passionate moments when you're climbing all my peaks. And we seek solace and warmth in the nectar of juices so sweet. I hear the cries of desire and the words of lovers speak. My heart recalls those moments it seemed entangled we'd always be. As I begun to long for another moment pure and true, the subconscious jolts me back to my mind and bring a real picture in view. The moments I hold on to cravings, creating cravings of you, leave out the cold-hearted moments when you broke my heart in two. You are not the wonderful person I see in those memories so sweet. For what I see in this relationship is just a fantasy.
Hmm. Let me get another one, but slow it down
Mhm.
a little bit. Just
All right.
take your time.
Take your time. This one, my glasses can't see. This one is a lesson to people. And it's called Walk Away. And usually when I read it, I have the audience come in because you know exactly where to come in at. If your so-called lover won't commit in any way, is absent and full of excuses from day to day, it might be time for you to walk away. If you freely give your heart, but your would-be lover's movements fail to start giving you the same, it may be time for you to walk away. When your morning evening thoughts are anxious to hear that person's voice, but yours doesn't cross their mind in any way, it may be time for you to walk away. When you are the only one planning for the future we hope to have one day, you need to look inside and say, it's time to walk away. For when love is new between the two, excitement ignites, feelings and thoughts take flight, a moment is too long. That lover's voice is like a song you can't wait to hear. And plans for the future, when can we make them, my dear? If these aren't the feelings the two of you share, hard as it may be, you must be strong enough to see. The signs are in your face. This is not the place or a healthy space. Before you lose your view, clinging to one not worthy of you, though you want to stay, have the courage and know when it's time to walk
Walk
away.
away. Mm. Truth. Truth, everybody. Truth. Oh, bravo, bravo. Let's get back a little bit to voiceover. Terry Briscoe has a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
That was wonderful. That was really wonderful.
Thank you.
Venus, you said you're getting into promo. Who will you be studying with in that genre?
Jeff Howell is one. Um, who did you mention to me earlier?
I mentioned Joe Cipriano. I would also mention Dave
Piano.
Walsh. Uh,
Yes, I have trained with Dave Walsh as well.
yeah, I also teach promo, but
Do you?
yeah, those are three very good choices as well. Those are
Yeah,
three very good choices.
yeah.
And Terry Briscoe again, what has been the biggest obstacle you have had to overcome in voiceover so far?
This is an expensive business, and I'm very candid. This is an expensive business. And I don't do anything else right now but voiceover. I don't have any more corporate jobs, so I don't have any more corporate income. I am of a certain age where I collect Social Security, and it is not enough. So I would say it's definitely money because you have to train. You have to go on to the conferences. You have to get the tools you need for your craft. It just so happens that the tools are expensive and you can't get around it.
You know,
That's an obstacle. Mhm.
I'm going to address that a little bit, the cost of it,
Mhm.
because it is.
Mhm.
Um, you have to get the training, you have to get the equipment and the tools. But as we look at what the cost of college is these days,
Mhm.
and a lot of Americans are rethinking the idea of colleges for everyone.
Mhm.
Um, in so many ways, training for a career in voiceover is a lot less than going to college.
Is it? Okay.
Well,
Well, my
I'm
myself
thinking
going
about
for
the
it.
number of people who are getting out of college and owe hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and often uh, people are getting degrees and things that they can't
You're not
walk into.
using
Yeah, they can't walk into a career doing. And I'm
mhm.
somebody who very much believes in the idea of education for the sake of education, for the sake of broadening oneself, for the sake of going from your little town or your big city to a place where you're meeting people who are not like you,
Mhm.
because that is part of education too. But
Mhm.
it costs too much now.
Mhm.
Uh, Unfortunately, I don't feel like we're a society anymore that values education like we once did.
One stick, correct.
Uh,
Mhm.
so there are other ways to get educated, and I think if you are somebody interested in a career in voiceover and you have the talent, you can learn and you can make this career happen for yourself. But
Mhm.
you have to realize it is going to cost.
Mhm.
It's the price of doing business.
And I wanna add to that, Dave, what I don't do, I don't remember who was that Terry that asked that question?
Hmm.
What I don't do is let any obstacle stop me. I remember I was trying to talk to someone who was a marketing trainer, and I was talking about how the demo is too expensive and it should be less, blah, 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 blah. And they said, "Oh, well, why don't you wait till you have the money?" No, I'm not waiting until I have the money. I'm going to find a way to get the money, and that's what I'm going to do. And then when I make money, I put what I need back into it
Yeah.
because that's what I have to do. Because for me, this is the time. And I don't believe in just waiting. If the door closes, like I said, I'm going to find a way to open another door or a window. I'm going to figure it out. And I trust and I walk a lot by faith. Because like I said, I am a person in a particular situation, but I will not let it stop me. And you brought up when we were off camera the pandemic.
Yes.
The pandemic changed my career and made me or allowed me to get a lot of things that I got because they gave away all that free money. And I took that money and I put it into the business. And so that allowed me to do a lot of things because, as I said, I do voiceover full time now. It's my only job.
Yeah.
So I had to invest. It's an investment in me.
Yeah.
to do the things that I wanna do, and I feel like, that's why people say, "Well, why can't you separate? If you wanna sing, sing. If you wanna do voiceover, do voiceover. If you wanna act, act." No, for me, it's a total package. I can't not do this and do that. I may concentrate more on one than the other, but I remember I had a lady who was gonna manage me, and she said, "You have to pick one." I said, "No, you pick one, figure out how to manage it all, Imma do all of these." Because I'm not doing that,
You know,
No.
I find that's true even within just the genre of voiceover.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think about my career. When I came, it was mostly TV promos and animation, which in some ways is a real odd combination of things.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
narration was added. And years later, video games showed up. But I was also doing uh, live announce for TV shows and
Mhm.
award shows. And I've had the good fortune of being able to do a lot of everything.
Right.
Right now, video games are so popular, so big, you get fans from them. So it's the thing that most people know me for. But
Mhm.
I'm still doing everything else as well.
Right.
And it has made for a great career, as opposed to, say, my good friend Joe Cipriano, whose bread and butter, and it's a lot
Promos.
of good old bread and butter, has been
Right.
TV promos.
Promos,
So
exactly.
you can have a great career that concentrates on one thing, or a career that concentrates on a number of things.
And diversity.
So
Mhm.
I would
Yeah.
suggest that Renaissance woman that you are, um, that you not keep knocking on all those different doors.
Mhm. Appreciate that. That's great advice. Thank you so much, and it was free.
Yeah, there you go. And let's see another comment here. This is from Janice Johnson Hunter. Shades of Love is a beautiful compilation. And just because I'm gonna pull up something I made here. That Shades of Love there. You can get it on Amazon, Nook, and Kobo. I'll leave that up for just a little bit.
You could get it
Now,
directly from me if you want to too. Just, email me or inbox me, and I can send it to you. I
there you
have
go.
copies.
There you
Mhm.
go. And let's see. Any other questions? We've got a few more minutes um, to go. Um, what's your typical day like?
When I wake up, I'm a night owl, so sometimes I'm up late doing auditions or any kind of marketing stuff. So I don't get up the typical time everyone else gets up, but the first thing I do when I open my eyes after I pray that I was able to wake up, I look at my phone and see if there are any auditions, and if there are auditions, that will determine how early I get out of the bed, or
No,
if I have a an appointment.
yes, because I, when I was a morning jock, I was
Mhm,
up very early, very, very early.
mhm. Yeah, 4,
I
5, and
typically
6.
sleep late now, and I think it's because
Yes,
I had to get up so early for so many years.
yes,
Um,
exactly.
what time do you usually rise out of bed? Go on, tell the truth.
It depends on what I gotta do. Sometimes I rise at 9, sometimes I rise at 8, sometimes I rise at 10.
Okay.
And if I really don't have to do anything, I'm sitting there chilling till 11. Yeah.
Get up and have
If I
breakfast
really
at
if
lunchtime.
I re That's lunchtime, exactly.
But you're a night owl, so how late a night owl are you?
I can be up to between 1 or 2 o'clock.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I sent my agent a note at 11:30, and he answered me at 11:45. I said, "Oh, you up too?" Because I didn't think so. I expected an answer in the morning, but I was like, "Well, thank you for
You
answering me,"
know,
you know?
it's interesting because I'm kind of a night owl too. Um, I typically am not in bed before midnight.
Mhm,
Um, and sometimes I'm just down here putzing and doing things,
mhm.
interested in all kinds of things. So I'm reading various little
You get
articles.
carried away at the computer. I intended to go to bed last night at 11, but I got carried away on the computer. So, then the next thing you know, it's like 12 o'clock. You're like, "What?" And then there's shows that I have to watch to unwind, Dave. I still watch General Hospital,
Oh,
okay?
come on now.
I tape General Hospital, and that's how I unwind at night. Before I go to sleep, I'm watching General Hospital, and that relaxes me. and then I go to sleep.
I do watch the late night shows,
Hmm.
so I'll have to catch Colbert
Bear.
and Jimmy and the Jimmies, and I'll
Hmm.
sometimes I will just get the monologues.
Yeah.
And
Or if you have a good guess, you got to see if there's a
Yeah,
good guess. If it's
yeah.
a
But
good
I
guess, you
always
go
start with the
in.
Daily Show because it comes on at 11 instead of 11:30.
Right.
But yeah, yeah. Interesting, interesting. You know, and I think in some ways society has changed. Um, we're not all farmers and warehouse workers and factory
Mhm.
workers anymore. Where get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you got to be at this job and get things done, and you're going to work till the sun goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're different now. The
And I
society
like
is
that. I
different.
like that I can set my schedule according to what I have to do that day.
Yeah, yeah.
Because again, I'm not a morning person. I worked in corporate America for so long where I had to get up and I was stressed and running and worried about getting there on time and all that. And I don't have to do that anymore. So if I don't have to get up to take care of things, I don't get up. And sometimes your body says you've been doing, going, slow down.
Let
And
me
that's
ask you
really
this: Do you ever
important.
feel guilty about sleeping late?
Sometimes,
Yeah,
not a lot.
my
Sometimes.
my father, when I was a well teenager and
Mhm.
going out and partying and staying up late, he'd always, if I'd been out on Friday night or Saturday night, he'd always wake me up early on that Saturday or Sunday morning
Yep.
with the words, "If you can stay out late, you can get up early." And this doesn't make any sense,
Did
Dad.
he know my mother? Did he know my mother? Yes. And
And my
don't leave the
mom was
dishes
always
in the
up early because she grew up on a farm.
please. And don't leave the dishes in the sink.
Oh
Your mom
boy,
come home and the dishes in the
none of
sink and you
that.
sleep? Oh,
None of that.
no. No, 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 no.
Well, we seem to have wandered away from voiceover here,
I tell you, it's
but
good to talk about everything. Yeah.
yes. Listen, Venus Crute,
Okay.
this has been a pleasure. Just
Absolutely.
bouncing around, talking about this and that and your voiceover career. And I'm going to give you the same advice I gave you before. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep being that person that is trying out new things.
Mhm.
Um, there's a place and room for you to do more in this business, and I have no doubt that that's exactly what you're going to do.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor. I so appreciate it.
Oh no,
And how's
listen,
it going?
yeah, all right. No, it's my pleasure because I find that you're an inspiration to a lot of people. Just watching you work the room at VO Atlanta and seeing how people react to you and the energy that you bring.
Thank you.
Um, thank you, thank you.
I
You're an asset for all of us.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dave.
All
And
right.
you're another one of my gems. Don't go away
There
from
you
me.
go. There you go.
All
Well,
right.
we're gonna call it a show. I want to thank you again, and I'm going to say hello again to the audience out here. Thank you so much for joining me. You have no idea what a pleasure it is to show up every Wednesday and be able to talk to people like Venus Crute and share thoughts and questions with you guys. By the way, there's the QR code. If you want my information, you've got it. This and all the other Ask Dave Fennoy's Anything will be on Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training on YouTube. And if you're interested in voiceover coaching with me, davefennoy.com. Click the Study VO tab at the top. And until next time, book something.
Yeah.